Hey everybody, it's Vision, and in today's video, I'll provide a quick overview of SteamOS Stable running on the beautiful and brand new Lenovo Legion Go 2 sporting the Z2 Extreme APU that are working right out of the box, some of the things that aren't working, along with some of the workarounds to make life more comfortable until they're fixed. I'll also share a handful of games running on this beautiful hardware, and by the end of the video, I'll share a progress update on our upcoming revised dual boot guide. And in this upcoming guide, we're gonna share how to dual boot with Windows already being pre-installed and you're just adding SteamOS. Stick around, cause you don't wanna miss any of it. If you're enjoying my how-to guides and handheld related content, be sure to like the video and subscribe. That way you get that notification as soon as a new video comes out. Check it out. We've got the real SteamOS Stable, running on our Lenovo Legion Go 2 with the Z2 Extreme APU. And the first thing you'll notice is that our Legion buttons are already working. And if we go down to settings here, we can take a look at the version that we're on. I've seen some videos out there suggesting that you can only use the 3.8 or the main one. You only need that to get the installation going. Then you can cut right over to stable and everything's working. And so if we go down here, you'll see we're on SteamOS Hollow 3.7.17. We've got our Z2 Extreme APU, and the way I've got mine configured, I'm using only 6 gigs of RAM for the VRAM. And typically when you configure one of these third-party handhelds to run SteamOS, you'll set VRAM to auto. But what I'm finding is that I really like using the 6 gig setting because, you know, we have a 1900 by 1200 resolution screen, and 6 gigs is plenty, even at medium and high settings for majority of the games I've tested so far. This screen looks absolutely astonishing. It is gorgeous. Take a look at our additional settings here. One thing I'd like to call out is that the brightness slider does not work. That's going to require a specific driver for the display to work in gaming mode. So I'll show you in a little bit. In desktop mode, this works fine. It does not work in gaming mode. So that's a little bit of polishing that still needs to happen. There have been some comments about RGB lighting not working. I actually committed some code to the Legion Go remapper GitHub repository to make it work for the Legion Go 2 almost like 2 months ago, I believe. And this was well before the Legion Go 2 even came out. And so it's been working the whole time since the Legion Go launch. You just need to use this third-party plugin. There are other plugins out there like the HueSync. I would recommend using the Legion Go remapper. I have videos on the channel showing you how to set it up and get it configured for the original Legion Go. It's the exact same process for the Legion Go 2. But the reason I recommend it is because this enable auto brightness here, it's going to be very useful given that we cannot control the brightness slider. This adaptive brightness works very well. You can see right here in the top upper part of the display here, that's the ambient light sensor that's built into the Lenovo Legion Go 2's screen. And so that means it can sense the lighting conditions in the environment and dim the display accordingly. And since we don't have a working brightness slider, this is the best we can do when we're in gaming mode. If you do set that up, you're going to want to disable that over here in the settings. So there's an option under display. Disable this adaptive brightness here. And the other really nice thing about the Legion Go remapper is that you've got RGB LED control here. We can go into here and we can, you know, pick solid lighting, dynamic. I like to use the spiral with the 30% and 60% speed. So I want to cut over to desktop mode here real quick. I just want to show that the brightness does indeed work here. Look at that. We can control the brightness just fine. It's just an issue in the gaming mode. The other thing I want to call out here, double clicking on return to gaming mode doesn't seem to work no matter what version of SteamOS we're on right now. But if you go down to here and then go to leave, click log out, and then log out now, it'll take you back to gaming mode. Another really neat feature that I haven't seen on the other SteamOSs yet, but look at our TDP performance settings here. So we've got low power mode, balance performance, and performance. And then we've even got custom here. And I'm finding that the balance performance mode keeps my device running cool and quiet for the most part. And I'm able to hit those peak frames per second without much difficulty. So for example, if we take a look at Elden Ring here, so we take a look at the settings I'm using full screen, 1920 by 1200. I'm going to go with the low quality preset here. And the only thing I'm going to change is bump texture quality to medium and shader quality medium. So the first thing you'll notice is that in some of my previous videos, we did the drawing at a distance torture test here, and it runs pretty good. We're going to drop the GPU clock down to 1400 megahertz. The auto mode works pretty well, but if we say we want to use 1400, it keeps things running pretty stable here. And this is one of the hardest areas of the game to run, but it looks gorgeous. Look at this on this screen. Look at the details in my character's shield here. Magnificent. I don't have any resolution scaling on. And when we go into the closed areas, we stay pretty close to 60 frames per second. Our temperature is staying under 60 degrees centigrade. And this is all in all a very pleasurable experience. I barely hear any fan noise. Look at that. Oh, we just got hit from behind. All right, here we've got Diablo 4 running on our Legion Go 2 with the Z2 Extreme APU. We're going to take a quick peek at our settings. So I'm going to optimize it for handhelds here. We can enable HDR if we want, but let's start with it disabled. So yeah, these are the settings I typically use. FSR2 with quality and the low graphics quality preset. And that looks good to me. And so we see our character here. What's really nice here is I'm not using integer scaling. You know, back like on the OG Legion Go, I'd have to use integer scaling to stay above 60 frames per second. And so the image was heavily decimated between the integer scaling and the FSR scaling. Let's venture out of town here and take a look at some monsters. And you can see we're hovering around 70 frames per second. We can see in these heavily crowded areas, we start to dip in frame rate here. Still, this is impressive how smooth it's running at the full resolution of the panel. That's incredible. All right, and we've got The Witcher 3 loaded up here. Let's take a quick look at our configuration. Dynamic resolution scaling. I'm going to turn that off, and I want to use FSR quality. And then as far as display is concerned, I use the full screen. So here we've got HDR enabled. So it looks like I might need to change a few more settings. So I went with the Steam Deck preset, and now we're staying above 60 frames a second with FSR scaling enabled. And you know, it doesn't look too bad here. Let's look inside this dark environment. Now we can get a better look at Geralt's face and just see how the textures look here. Pretty decent. If we go talk to Yennefer, That looks pretty darn good. It's nice that we're staying above 60 frames a second with HDR enabled. Magnificent. And you know our showcase of SteamOS wouldn't be complete without illustrating how our dual boot is up and running here. So I'm working on some new dual boot footage, and so we're going to boot into our BIOS here by holding volume plus and tapping the power button and leaving our finger on volume up. And we're going to go into BIOS setup, and we're going to push the Windows bootloader to the top here. Exit, save and exit. So I'm working on an updated version of our dual boot video, except for this time we're starting with Windows being installed first and then adding SteamOS to your device. This tutorial will work for any device that supports both SteamOS and Windows. And the real magical part about this updated version is if your device, like let's say like the Legion Go 2 already comes with Windows pre-installed, or you're on the Xbox Ally and Windows is already pre-installed, you can just shrink your Windows partition and then add SteamOS after. And so all I have to do to log in here is use my handy dandy fingerprint, and we're in. And so everything's up and running in Windows as usual. And so I have a 4 terabyte hard drive, and then I have the rest, over 3 terabytes allocated for SteamOS. And now, getting back to SteamOS is as simple as booting back into our BIOS, going into our settings, and moving the SteamOS boot manager to the top of the boot list. Then hit exit, and there you have it. If you've made it this far in the video, be sure to hit the like button, hype it up, and subscribe so you don't miss all the amazing toys and gaming tips we've got coming down the pipeline. If you're enjoying my how-to guides and handheld related content, be sure to like the video and subscribe. That way you get that notification as soon as a new video comes out.